Julia, I just have to say, 3 of my 4 grandchildren are here today, and I could not be more proud to have you show them exactly what it means to become a bat mitzvah. You did such a wonderful job this morning. And your smile is infectious, and it's wonderful always to be around you. So thank you. So just a quick question before I actually get started with my sermon. This is an introduction that I had planned for my Yom Kippur sermon, but you'll see in just a minute why I decided to not do it on Yom Kippur. I want to talk about toppings for pizza. Does anybody here have the audacity to put pineapple on their pizza? Yes? The way I was originally going to structure this conversation was to ask you what toppings you normally put on your pizza, but I was concerned about some of the answers I might get. But I see people put all sorts of things. Anybody put mushroom? Ooh, right? Ooh. So far, 2 huge mistakes. Mushrooms and pineapple. There's actually a funny scene in a show called Blue Bloods, in which one of the characters, who's a very strong Italian character, says to somebody who puts pineapple on their pizza, he says, "You're dead to me." But peppers, onions, okay, good, all right. So what we see here from just this introduction is it's very hard to get anybody to actually agree on toppings for pizza. And so if it's hard for us to agree about toppings for pizza, you can imagine how difficult it is for us to come to common ground on a variety of actually important topics about the way the world works. And if you ask any set of Jews, if you have 3 Jews, we often say you have 4 opinions. And those are disagreements about almost everything. We disagree about the nature of God. We disagree about what God commands of us. We disagree about whether God cares about humanity. And some of us even wonder about whether God exists at all. We disagree about theology. We disagree about philosophy. We disagree about sociology. We disagree about history, the world, and even our own. We disagree about Israel, about politics, about war, about justice. It's not an accident. It's part of our DNA. Open any page of the Talmud and you'll see it's essentially a record of disagreements. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael, Hillel and Shammai, the majority and the minority. Every page is built on arguments. Yet somehow, out of all of this disagreement, we've endured. Not despite our differences, but because of them. Sukkot gives us a powerful symbol of this truth. We take up 4 species, 4 different types of vegetation. The lulav, the etrog, the hadassim, the aravot, each representing a different type of person that exists in this world, a different kind of human spirit. And then what we do is we bind them together. We put them in the same room and we say, let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to get along. Vayikra Rabbah, one of our great midrashic compilations, says the etrog has both taste and fragrance, symbolizing people who are knowledgeable but also do good deeds. The lulav has taste but no fragrance, symbolizing that some people are just good at doing good things. The hadas has fragrance but not taste, symbolizing that some people just have knowledge. They're insightful but don't truly act on that. And the aravah has neither taste nor fragrance, symbolizing that there are some people who just haven't engaged yet, either intellectually or emotionally or socially. And yet, this mitzvah of bringing the lulav and the etrog together isn't complete without all of them. In order for us to observe this commandment of bringing the lulav and etrog together, we have to bring them all together. No one can be left behind. The mitzvah is incomplete if the one person is missing, if one type of person is missing. And then we have to find a way to connect ourselves one to another. Unity doesn't come from sameness. It comes from difference, bound together by intention. Bound together by intention. We have to decide to be together. It's not just a quaint midrash about community. It's also a midrash about ourselves. So many of us feel split, divided, unable to get along even with our own selves. We find ourselves in internal conflict. But that's exactly how we grow. Proverbs tells us, iron sharpens iron, and one person sharpens another. Or as I like to say, diamonds sharpen diamonds. That is, we find a way to make ourselves more precious, more holy, more connected by doing it with each other. Debate, even conflict, is not the opposite of unity. It's actually the very process by which we clarify what we believe. When I hear another's opinion, it forces me to evaluate my own. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory used to say that Judaism's greatest gift to the world is not agreement, but argument for the sake of heaven. We model how we live with difference. We don't erase it. Argument for the sake of heaven. The idea that there is a greater, higher value than our own personal opinion is what makes us great, and it is a gift we give to the world. The Midrash of the four species tells us that each represents a different kind of person, and that only when we come together can we complete each other. But the Hasidic masters went further. A guy named the Sfat Emet, the Ger Rebbe, teaches that the four species are not only about different people, but they're about different aspects within each of us. The Sfat Emet asks us to look deeper. The Sfat Emet says, see each other's insides as well as our outsides. Tocho kivaro. Our insides ought to match our outsides, but sometimes it's not so clear. And so we have to look deeper into one another. Sometimes we'll see a person who's like an etrog, who has both learning and action. Sometimes we'll see people who are like the arava, who unfortunately haven't yet discovered who they are. Sometimes we shine through. Sometimes we need to look a little deeper. Binding the species to one another says we seek to present ourselves as whole, as one, as unified. Presenting ourselves as whole before God allows us to practice how we can present ourselves as whole before one another. It's a spiritual act of integration. We have to pretend. We don't have to pretend to be perfect. We only have to bring the pieces of ourselves and bind them together in order to present a more perfect whole. It's not just about a model for community. It's about a model for our country. Between people and even within ourselves, we bind together, and when we do, when we're unified, we call that holy. This brings me to Thomas Cahill's book, The Gift of the Jews. His central claim is that the Jewish people gave the world a radical new way of seeing. That time is not cyclical but linear. That history has meaning. That human choice and moral responsibility matter. Before the Jews, life was seen as fate, an endless cycle of rise and fall. But when we came along, the idea of progress, of covenant, of a God who makes demands of us, and of a people who chooses to respond, that's our calling, that's our gift to the world, that we choose to be in covenant with each other and with the Almighty. and we choose to respond to the call. If Kale is right, then maybe the next gift of the Jews is showing that unity and diversity are not mutually exclusive. They're not opposites. You don't need to erase difference in order to build community. That disagreement can be sacred, even creative. This is the message that our country deeply needs right now. America is riven with polarization. Politics have become toxic. People are cutting each other out of each other's lives because of social media and the contempt it breeds. And in the middle of all this, we Jews, of all people, have something profound to teach. We know what it means to sit with others at a table. Even if we have a difficult time finding common ground, we can find a common blessing. We know that we can argue fiercely, but still marry each other's kids. We know what it is to bind a lulav and an etrog, a hadas and aravah, and we know that when we do, it's called holiness. When the prophet Isaiah said that we are called to be an or lagoyim, a light unto the nations, perhaps this is the aspect of Jewish life that we were meant to give. Maybe it wasn't about just ethical monotheism, not just about the Ten Commandments, not just about the idea of covenant, but also a model of unity, not necessarily uniformity. A community bound together not because we agree, but because we belong together. On this Shabbat HaMoed Sukkot, as we have in the last few days waved the lulav in all directions, we remember that we ourselves are pulled in many directions, but we bundle tight. It's the first time in history that we've been offered the bundle package. The binding is as important as the waving. The world doesn't need more people who agree with each other. The world needs more people who can disagree, stay together, and still build something beautiful. I believe that's our gift. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah. We continue with Musaf. It's introduced by the Chatzi Kaddish, page 100.